with the recent drop of 4.6 came the new Fontaine expansion, which I still need to do. Yeah. Anyway, and with it came an area that many people, including myself, had been waiting on to fill out. Only it didn't fill out. Like, at all. Northern Sumeru was an intriguing curiosity. While not sure what would be there, many people, again including myself, anticipated it to be a much welcome expansion to the map. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I've done several essays regarding map expansions, the open world, and even an essay about the Sumeru Desert itself. In regards to the map, Sumeru comes up a lot in conversation about this game, and for good reasons. As I pointed out in my Chen Yuvale essay, though Inazuma was the first new nation on the map, it was disconnected from the mainland. Sumeru was the first nation to actually expand the mainland we began playing on. And the very first part of Sumeru we stepped foot in was the rainforest, the jungle. Now, there's an old expression that goes, first impressions are everything. What you see first tends to be what you expect going forward, at least to a degree. But I have to say, Sumeru somewhat subverted our expectations. The lush green forests, the magnificent tree city, the rainy jungles. I speak for several, including myself, when I say I did expect to see some more of it eventually. Not just see some more of it, but have some gameplay involved with it. Some more forests and jungles to trek through, with some more puzzles to solve, and some more quests. Sumeru expanded 3 times though, all westward and all desert. Now, don't get me wrong at all, I freaking love those desert expansions. Again, I did a whole essay on that very topic, professing that the desert expansions don't get enough love from players. But 2 things can be true at once. While I love the desert expansions, that doesn't mean I didn't ever want a hefty jungle expansion. I mean, obviously, I want as many expansions as possible. As a day 1 player, I want a world I can get super lost in again, just like the good old days. Probably why I play the game in waves, actually, so I can let content build up. I still have a metric ton of Chen Yuvale stuff to do, for instance. But I'm digressing now. Point is, yeah, I still wanted some more jungle. I love the desert, but I didn't just want desert. With this latest expansion to the map though, I have to say it's not looking too good for the future of Sumeru jungle expansions. Really, it's not looking too good for the expansion of Sumeru much at all, other than the very western and southern edges of the desert that many, including myself, believe to be the gateway to Natlan. Before 4.6, there was that section at the northern tip of the Sumeru jungle that many, including myself, expected to expand the Sumeru rainforest a bit. By how much we didn't know, but we just kind of expected something. But what we got was quite literally the worst padding of land that has ever hit the game, in my opinion. At least content-wise. The new Fontaine village, Petrichor, is out in the middle of the water, but as far as Sumeru goes, there's a little bit of coast that was added, and that's it. Okay, really I take that back. It was not a little bit of coast, it was a lot of coast, and that's half the issue here. Despite just how much coast was added, there's nothing substantial here at all, nothing to do. There's a little Sumeru port here, with some NPCs there to make it feel legitimate, and that's it. No missions, very few enemies, and probably like 2 chests. That's all I've located, and that's tragic. I remember when the chasm released, and maybe even Sumeru's initial forest, there were strips of lands there that filled out the map and connected parts together. And in these small strips of added land, we received some camps, some puzzles, just extra stuff in general to breathe some new life into the area, even with the chasm and Sumeru being the main focuses. Chenyu Vale did something similar with its eastern leeway edges. Thing is though, in those cases, the extra camps and fluff were just complementary to the additional add-ons. Here though, it seems that idea was just abandoned altogether. They just put the coast there and that's kind of it. And like I said, that's tragic in this case in particular, because we just never got to see more Sumeru rainforest, and it's not looking like we will. If you scroll to the south of Sumeru, there's little hints that there could be just a little extra rainforest left, but it does look pretty coastal, so how much could we be talking about? And as well, this was coastal, so for whatever that means, don't hold your breath for the southern tip of Sumeru either, right? I'm just gonna keep it a buck, this map filler was not that good. Yikes. Especially because it's crazy just how long the coast is. And I'm not even talking about the jungle coast at that point, but the entire coast in general, even the desert coast. It's all pretty dry and barren, and is there simply because it has to be. Because there has to be a coast at the edge of the water, that's geography. But the sheer size of it makes it jarring. Hypothetically, I feel like many people, including myself, would have been able to turn a blind eye had they skimped on padding out the chasm outskirts. I mean, I'm glad they didn't, but if they did, it's not the hugest area. But it's nigh impossible here not to notice it though, due to the length of Sumeru's coast. And again, that's not even just talking about the jungle's coast, the desert coast was even left deserted. But it's even sadder in the case of the jungle coast because at least we did get more desert content throughout Sumeru. But as for jungle, we never got that. That's awful. The jungle map we received in 3.0 is the same we have right now in 4.6, except for a crest of land added to the northern coast that contains absolutely nothing. And I'm really fearful this is it because looking at the map, how could it not be? The chasm and leeway are to the east, the deserts are to the west, the barren coast we just received is to the north, and then there's that curious southern tip, but it's looking pretty coastal as well. This really might be all we get for the jungle. Unless they pull the same thing they did with Fontaine's new Petrichor village island and put a new Sumeru island to the south. Now, that's a possibility, and one with endless bounds honestly, depending on where Natlan lies. A detached island could be as big and as full as they want it to be, and I hope that does happen. But that's kind of the only option I can see here, looking at the map. If they don't do that, then the jungle is really done, it seems. And that's why the northern coast being so barren feels so bad. Because there is so little opportunity left for the Sumeru jungle to expand, if any opportunity left at all. I mean, it would have been nice to explore and dig around in a little bit more of Sumeru's jungle. I made a point in my essay titled The Open World Perspective of a Day 1 Player. I said the following: in a world so beautiful and well crafted, where exploration is one of the main draws for many players such as myself, we want there to be more. We don't want to think we've seen it all. But as the mobs dwindle in an area, so comes our realization that one of our main draws, the exploration, isn't limitless. That one little chest, psychologically, it's affirmation that there's still some magic left. Or at least that's how I feel. I think this gets to the heart of why so many players, including myself, are kind of disappointed with this conclusion of Sumeru's northern coast, jungle and desert, but especially jungle. Is this really it? Is this really how the jungle just ends? Really? Some quests or something significant would have been better, but even just camps, chests, and puzzles would have been more satisfactory than the almost nothing we received. As players, we know that the map can't be endless and boundless. It's a finite map with finite space. And it's not as if chests and one-time mobs respawn either. It's like I said, so comes our realization that one of our main draws, the exploration, isn't limitless. Which is why it's all the more important to make use of all the map we have, and why it feels so bad that it wasn't done here. For one, it's a missed opportunity to give us more of a region, but moreover, it looks like it might be one of the last opportunities to do so for that region as well. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we do get a giant island or something south of Sumeru with more lush jungles and forests. But if we don't, then yeah, according to the map, this is it. This is what we get. Especially worth noting that if that is the case, then it's the first time in the game that a region is truly 100% wrapped up. We have more Mondstadt coming, more Leeway, more Fontaine, and curiously enough, within Azuma, since it's a collection of islands, it could technically have more to it. Now, someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure it's ever been explicitly stated in the game that there's only 6 islands. That's just what we're aware of, right? But really, even if stated in the game that there's only 6 islands, for all we know, a 7th island could pop up out of the sea due to some supernatural circumstance and put us on a whole new adventure. Not that I even necessarily believe that'll happen, but by virtue of it being islands, I don't ever write it off as never having future add-ons, because they can just be slapped out in the middle of the water. Case in point, Fontaine's new addition this patch. It's not the end of the world. The game is still huge, it's still lovely, and to be fair, we did receive an expansion in 4.6. It belongs to Fontaine, sure, but we got one. To the extent that all this matters, it's not like giving Sumeru more content at the coastal areas would have brought back anyone who has left, and I don't think the exclusion of it will be the straw that breaks the camel's back and makes anyone leave either. But it is still notable because we do want more of this game's world. As I said earlier, 2 things can be true at once. Absolutely thank you for the Fontaine expansions, but that doesn't mean we want the last strip of Sumeru to be barren and pointless, especially a strip so huge. Wherever the game expands next, be it Natlan, north of Mondstadt, west of Fontaine, wherever, let's hope that Hoyo continues to give us more to do in the open world as they have done before. They've been good about it, so for all we know, this could just be a one-off. I mean, I'm still willing to give them a chance. Just the size of it all is so jarring that even as a one-off, it's hard to ignore. Whatever the case, there's still other things to do in the game as well. I do still need to 100% my Chen Vale and do all the quests there, and I also haven't even gone through the new Fontaine quests. So for all the talking I'm doing about more Sumeru content, I haven't even finished what's here. Even so, though, that doesn't mean I can't criticize individual blunders as they happen, and I'm just being frank, this is kind of a blunder. A mistake, a missed opportunity. It's an oopsie whoopsie. Yeah, I think this is a wake-up call though for all players to not take any new content for granted. As the old saying goes, don't expect anything and you won't be disappointed when you get nothing. There was nothing ever saying we would necessarily get Northern Sumeru content or more jungle expansions. Nothing at all. We just kind of assumed it. And I mean, I think rightfully so, considering their track record. But it was an assumption. It's not like it was a broken promise or anything. The players just expected it themselves. Including myself. Thanks for listening.